All right, everyone. So, welcome to this is the third in our series of SPA Connect market webinars. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the lands on which we live and work. And for me, that's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I'd like to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. So, hi again, everyone. I'm Jessica Giaco. I'm the Industry Programs Manager at Screen Producers Australia. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the third in our special series of market webinars, talking with key international executives who will be attending Screen Forever this year. And this is a way to find out about what projects they're looking for, as well as some thoughts on the industry from their part of the world. And this evening, we are very lucky to have Josephine Fontaine with us. Josephine is the Vice President of Acquisitions and Co-Productions at Newen Connect. Welcome, Josephine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What part of the world are you in today?
I'm in London, UK.
Fantastic. So could you just start by maybe just telling us a little bit about your role at Newen Connect and what that all means?
Sure. So I joined Newen Connect, which is a French company. You can hear my French accent probably. Just over 2 years ago, to I'm in charge basically of expanding the company's English language portfolio. So I'm trying, hopefully successfully, to build strong relationship with global Anglophone producers, in acquiring but also co-producing high quality scripted content. So I'm only in charge of scripted content for the company. As I mentioned, I'm based in the UK, and the countries and producers I work with are based in the UK, US, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Canada, but also as of a few months ago, Scandinavia. Um, and so we recently did a partnership deal with a company called Riffraff Entertainment. It's a UK-based company, and that shows it's a first look type deal. And for us, it really shows like a desire, strong desire to continue and develop original scripted projects with key creative talent. Riffraff was set up by Jude Law and his partner Ben Jackson. And we also have a group of production companies in Europe within the Newen group. And so we work as much with our in-house producers as our third-party producers. And that's basically where we are. I just should mention that it was announced a few weeks ago that we're going to change name very soon. I'm still new and Connect, but by the time of Screen Forever, it'll be Studio TF1, because New and Connect is part of the TF1 group in France, and we're going to recognize that a bit more.
Interesting. Studio TF1. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So are you able to elaborate on what that means for the company? We
Well,
Hmm.
it's really to establish, you can see the world is like the industry is quite tricky. There's loads of M&A movements happening. It's quite hard for producer, distributors, creators alike to finance, get your commission, co-produce. Everything is a bit harder, and I think it helps identify the companies within the group as being part of a group on the market, and it establishes a bit more, not our power, but the length and the like how big we are as well. And it's key as well for the world to understand who we are. Because when I explain you and connect, it's not always very,
Mm.
easy first to pronounce it, second to understand who we are, where we work, who we work for. So I think it make my life on a day-to-day basis much easier as well. But yeah, it's important to recognize that we're part of the TF1 group, I think.
Yeah, there's had that big umbrella company as well.
Yeah.
Name that's fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've got planned for the year ahead? Maybe a little bit about your slate without giving too much away, if
Yeah.
you'd like. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Um, so as I mentioned, we're very established, obviously, in Fontaine in Europe. We've got those 50 production companies and all those relationships with third-party producers. So our slate is currently quite compelling in terms of European shows that we have and that we're going to represent at the London screenings in a few weeks' time in the UK, with all the buyers coming to London for the event. We have some English language content, but We launched them last year. So for London screenings, it's going to be mostly non-English language dramas, and they range from all genres, from period drama to crime procedural series and sci-fi as well. And I know we're here to speak about Australia and language and English language content, but we do, Hebrew, French, German, Swedish. We're quite open in terms of what we do and how we do it as well. But we're also very aware that, as I mentioned, the industry is a bit more difficult and the English language travels more, and it's more valuable on the market. And hence why I'm talking to you today, and I'm joining you in a few months as well, because there's more value to English language content, full stop. And buyers are more and more risk averse,
Mm,
and we recognize that as well. And it's safer in a way to invest money in English language content than it is in non-English, but we'll never stop doing non-English because that's who we are. We're European at the core, and we have lots of great producers within the group, and we're just going to continue and do that. But at the same time, we want to grow our slate with English language content.
that's fantastic and great for us. So just before we get stuck into what you're looking for out of Australia, I was wondering,
Mhm.
could you give us a little bit of an overview of sort of what is the state of the industry in the UK at the moment? I know that's a big question, but maybe sort of what's the mood? What's currently happening? What are you hearing? How are people feeling in the industry?
Big
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of answers. uh, we had this thing in the UK, which was survive till 25. We are
Mm.
in 25. I have survived, if I just think of myself, but sadly, the industry has gone through loads of ups and downs over the last couple of years. The new motto is stay in the mix till 26. We're very good with those things in the UK.
What was it?
Um,
Sorry, what to 26?
stay in the mix till 26.
Good. I like that.
And someone mentioned the 2028 one, but I forgot. I mean, I can't go there just yet. We're just in 25, but it's been a tough couple of years for sure. Um, a lot of production companies are struggling to get shows financed, commissioned. There's loads of talks about, I think it was 10 or 12 series that were commissioned by the BBC. Don't quote me on that, but quite a lot of TV series that could not find the financing. Obviously, we know the US market is not as it used to be, and a lot of us distributors used to rely on a US sale or co-pro deal, which we can't necessarily always rely on anymore, or not at the level that we used to have. Um, so it's all about how can we adapt. And I
Mm,
think for us as distributors as well, we need to adapt. And we're no longer just doing deficit financing, coming on board when everything is set up. You've got all of your financing locked, apart from the distribution advance. It's commission, you've got all the scripted talent, blah, blah, blah. I wish it was that easy still, but it's not. Especially in the UK. So we have to come in earlier. We have to talk to everyone, all the commissioners, and commission buyers and commissioners are having to be more flexible in terms of exclusivity as well. So we do a lot of windowing, a lot more than we used to. Holdbacks are a key negotiation point. Exclusive windows as well. There's a lot of co-exclusivity. Um, so we need to find those additional partners and routes for financing. And windowing is one, co-production is another one. But it's a tricky market. Buyers, not just in the UK, but buyers generally speaking, are very much risk averse, as I mentioned earlier. And so we need to come with content that they consider as safe or safer, whatever that is. We don't have, a
mm,
formula. We have ideas of what it might be, but you never really know for sure. So it is a difficult market, but everyone, I think everyone I'm talking with feel that 26, 25. Oh God, I'm already jumping on your head. 25 is probably starting a bit better than 24 did. I don't want to be too optimistic just in case, but it feels so far so good, as much as good can be, I suppose.
that's good. That's good to hear. And I guess there's like so many more opportunities internationally as well. And that's great. You've got that umbrella company as well. So
Yes.
expanding your borders, so to speak, and coming to Australia, of course. So we might start diving into how you work with Australia. I might just, for all of our attendees watching, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask any questions, and I will get to them as we go throughout the rest of the webinar. So, maybe to start, can I just ask is how you currently work with Australian producers? Can you tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about that and what you have worked on with Australia previously?
Sure. So we formalized, I suppose, our first, example of investing in Australian content with the series In Limbo for the ABC in Australia. We're working with the producers from Drama Queen and Harris Films on In Limbo. Lovely team, I have to say. And that was our first foray into Australian content. And we work with Australian producers the same way as every producer, to be honest. So it's all about meeting with everyone, well, as many people as possible, at different markets, be it MIPCOM, Content London, Screen Forever in a few months, and nurturing those relationships, reading scripts, feeding back on them, and trying to find a way to finance the series. It's all about money, really, and how can we make that work, but also how can it feel international for us. It's quite essential that the series is international, obviously. So it's all about, yeah, meeting, keeping the conversation going, and trying to find the right project.
And what does that mean that it's important the series is international? What does that mean to you?
Well,
Mm.
it could be anyway. It could be the IP is international.
Mm.
So it's got to be a very established IP. It can't just be, a book that existed and got adapted. It's got to be a book that traveled around the world and was successful. Um, it could be the talent that is international, the lead cast, mostly. The writer is important always, but we always talk about the poster and the marketing of the series. And on the poster, you won't see the writer's face. So the actors, really, really change the dial for buyers. Could be, the story itself that is international. To give you an example, we have quite a few French language period dramas on our slate. They're French, so it doesn't travel as easily as English. And they're period dramas, and one can say maybe it's harder. Um, we managed to sell them to Netflix for global rights because it's not really about the period they're set in. The period is there, it's a context of it, but it really is about the characters. And the female, those examples that I have in mind are female-led dramas, and really we look at those characters very closely and how they evolve throughout the story and the series. And their journeys make it international as well.
Mm. Mm. Fantastic. So when you talk about the importance of cast, so what kind of packaging do you look for on a show that a producer should come to you with?
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, the industry, and for us, it's distributors, but also our clients, the buyers, will always prefer well-known talents, names, or faces. It speeds up the process. For us, it speeds up the process when it comes to looking at the investment that is required from distribution, but also then down the line when it comes to co-production conversations with buyers or even just selling to buyers, it's easier, full and simple. So it's all about a safe bet. So the writer at the start is key. So an experienced writer is very important. They can team up with a less experienced writer, that's fine. But it's going to be harder for us. It's, let's say there is a very new production company that is not working with an established production company, and at the on top of that, it's a very new and experienced writer, however good they are. Sadly, I wish we could just go for, new producers and writers and that's it. But
Mm.
we're not in that world currently. It may change, but yeah, a safe bet is quite essential. It's much easier to have those names attached. It will resonate better internationally as well.
Fantastic. So when it comes to Screen Forever and the kinds of projects that you're hoping to find, can you tell us what you're looking for? What
Yeah.
kind of projects? Mm.
Um, it's going to sound a bit, you know, general, what I'm going to say, but I suppose that's where we are. It's all about how much does it resonate with the audience? And I know it sounds a bit, but that is what it is. So it could be original stories, it could be IP adaptations, but it has to be a powerful story. Um, we have to be very specific. We have a preference for 6 by 60 minutes
Mhm.
because buyers do. it's not my preference, it's bias preference. We're really relatively open to the genre, but it needs to be a clearly identifiable genre. What I mean by that is it cannot be a mix of genres. If it's a crime procedural, it is a crime procedural. We're not going to consider, let's say, a sci-fi crime procedural because then you've got two genres.
Mhm.
And as much as they're great, you know, you read them, you love them, you watch them, you love them. Buyers have slots that are very clearly identifiable, and it's a crime slot, or you know, it's a period drama slot. And if you've got two or more genres, it gets a bit harder for them to see if it's going to really meet the needs of that slot and the expectation of the audience for that slot. So it has to be a very clearly identified genre. Um, we're not looking for comedies um,
Okay.
across the board from anywhere. I mean, we all know it doesn't really travel much, with some exceptions. We know Calling from Accounts is one.
Mhm.
There's always the exception to the rule, but it's just harder. Um, and personally, in terms of what I'm, you know, quite looking forward to coming from Australia, I've heard loads of producers mention Invisible Boys, and I know it's launching in a few days. So I'm just very curious. I really want to see whenever it's available in the UK, the series, and mixtapes as well. I'm quite and those two series, it's very personal because mixtape is, I just said 6 by 60, mixtape is not 6 by 60. And Invisible Boys is not necessarily the genre, it's a bit more YA from, I've not seen it obviously, but we're not looking for YA series. So it's more like personal, you know, preference, I suppose. But when it comes to business, I don't think we would have gone for the series. I don't know, you never know.
Mm.
But you know, six by
But
sixty
maybe,
is the sweet spot.
but if it was impactful, the story, you might have gone for YA.
I don't know. Honestly, YA, we, all of us distributors,
Mm.
considered it maybe 3, 4 years ago very seriously because all the commissioners were telling us, oh, we want to edge down the audience, especially on our BVOD services, but also on some of our linear channels. And there's been experiences, and they've done it for some of them. It's not always worked. And so it's now mostly going to the BVOD services, and the fees, you know, associated with the BVOD services are not the same as the linear services. So financially, there is a discrepancy as to what the MG is for distribution and what we think we can get from buyers. We're going to most likely acquire for either much smaller channels that were already YA channels or BVOD services versus the main primetime slot on the main linear channels. So YA, we're not looking. We had some, and we had struggles. So we're not currently considering them.
Okay. I just quickly want to ask, you said 6 by 60, but a procedural, like if it's a crime procedural, that's sort of often 20, 22 episodes, right?
Not in our world anymore, in Europe at
No?
least. And I
Okay.
think in Australia as well. It's more like 6 to 8 episodes.
Okay.
And even the US have moved away from such long running series with some exceptions. We all know Grey's Anatomy, we all know, you know,
Yeah.
it's a very long running series that are very successful as well. But I think because financing is so hard,
Yeah.
you know, investing, I don't know, 1 million an hour across 8 episodes is really different to across 20 episodes, obviously. And the buyers, when it comes to acquiring the series, they're ready to take some risks, calculated risks, and they'll do it across 6 hours. When it comes to 10 plus hours, it gets a lot harder to the point where we're having to ask producers and writers to create some sort of cliffhanger after 6 hours so that we can split the series. If it's 10 hours, let's say, we can split it by 6 plus 4,
Mhm.
because they're just going to struggle to justify investing the buyers in 10 hours from the get-go.
Okay, that's fair. So, we have a question that's coming from Richard. Is Newen Connect interested in unscripted TV?
So I do scripted. So personally, no, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
We do distribute non-scripted series. We have quite a lot of producers in the group in Europe, but we're also looking internationally. So do drop me an email and I'll try and loop you in with to the right person. But I need to caveat that with, I think the focus is heavier on the scripted front.
Mm.
for us. We'll always consider non-scripted, but we'll definitely have a preference for scripted and more
Okay.
investment for
And
scripted.
when you come to Screen Forever as well, you're looking for scripted, as you just mentioned as well.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
there's another question from Andrew is what's the best way to contact Ms. Fontaine to arrange a meeting at Screen Forever? So, Andrew, you need to go to the Screen Forever website, screenforever.org.au, click Spark Connect, and you'll be able to book meetings. And I'll get to that towards the end of the webinar as well. When someone meets you at Screen Forever and they sit down, they're in front of you, what do you like to see? Do you want to see anything, or do you just like to hear to talk?
I'm agnostic about that because it can work in your favor, but also against you. It will all have personal preferences. And you may do a beautiful deck and
Mm,
it will, speak to someone, but it may not speak to me. Who knows? So it's just up to you. I'm very agnostic about it. Um, Obviously, I need to know quite a few things about the series, such as the budget. It can be an estimate, obviously. It's a bit early most of the time for the projects to have like a firm, definitive production budget. Um, an idea of the finance plan, number of hours, is it returning, non-returning, is it original story, IP adaptation, obviously the story itself, who the writer is there any talent attached already, which commissioners are you talking to, or which ones are your target, because it will help us understand the tone as well of the series. An ABC series is not necessarily the same as a binge series.
mm,
So I need to understand who your hopes are in terms of working with for that show, because then I understand better. If you've got comps, even better, comparables, for me to understand the tone. Down the line, I'll obviously need to read something. Um, a script is essential. A first episode script is essential. Usually, we come on board when you have one script, a series outline of some sort, so that we know how it goes throughout the series in terms of the storyline and the characters as well, how they evolve throughout the stories. Um, an idea again of a finance plan commissioner, but until it's really commissioned, it's quite hard because sadly the market is so difficult. It's
mm.
very hard to get commissions. Um, and I can't read 50 different treatments. So one ep script is essential and a certain amount of progress already done in terms of where you're at.
Mm.
If it's a very big IP, I have to commit everything I've said. If it's a very big IP, very big talent, there's time pressure somehow in some way. You can come to me much early on in the process, um, and we can look at it in terms of financing. We do, for example, shopping deal agreements before you've got a commissioner on board. So if you're up for that, we can consider that. But also, I have to say, we're open to all sorts of ways of working. So if you've got something to suggest, feel free to come and mention it to me and we can consider it.
That's great. So that's great. So people can be fairly at quite different stages when they pitch to a Screen Forever. It doesn't sort of have
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
all
Pitching is absolutely, you can pitch at any stage.
yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
like if you expect like a firm, definitive answer,
Mm,
I'll need more than a pitch.
mm. So you might then ask to see the script if you like it
Yes.
directly after. Great. So we've got another question that's come in from Genevieve. What about films?
So we do have a film team.
Okay.
So they're based in Paris.
Yeah.
I'm not obviously in the field team, otherwise I would have mentioned it.
Mm,
But I've got a colleague who looks after film acquisitions. We're not like hugely active because we've got quite a big pipeline of films coming through internally. But we do third-party film acquisitions and financing. So feel free to contact me first, and then I'll, transfer you to the right person.
good to know.
And when I mention film, I mean theatrical films, because we do not do one-off TV movies,
Mhm.
as in Newen Connect, because we have a company within the group, the Johnson Production Group, based in the US, with Real One as well, based in Canada, who produce, develop, distribute TV movies, and so they handle it fantastically. So I don't need to be involved and disrupt anything.
Great. So we're getting close to the end. Any more questions, please pop them in. So at Screen Forever, you're looking for the next great 6 by 60 series. Just to recap, you're looking for a story with heart, an impactful story, not looking for comedies, but you are open to crime, you're open to sci-fi, but not combined. Um,
Correct.
Anything did I miss? Did I miss anything?
We're open to period dramas. We're honestly, we're apart from half hour and comedies, because it
Yes,
could be drama in half hours. We're quite open. It's got to be distinctive in some way,
yes.
obviously, to cut through, all the other TV series being distributed. So it's got to have something, an edge or, heart, like you said, something that makes it quite different.
Mm,
Could be just one character that is, unique. Could be the entire story that is unique.
fantastic. So do you have any final tips for producers who are coming to pitch to you at Screen Forever?
I mean, be ready for questions. I do ask a lot of questions. I'm curious by nature, so I will ask questions. If it's a crime drama, for example, I was in a market conference in Sweden 2 weeks ago, and someone was pitching a crime drama series to me, and I asked, but how does it end? Like, why did he kill this character? And they could not answer me. So if you could
I
have
need
those
to know.
answers ready, that
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
If you don't know, you don't know, because you're still working out, it's fine as well to say so. But I, if you don't know, it's good if you've got some ideas that you can share with me. So I know where it goes. Some stories are a bit harder on the international market, and if it ends up being about kids being groomed or killed or raped, it's a lot harder for us. So that's why I ask those questions as well. So I need to understand how it ends.
Mm,
So yeah, generally speaking, be ready for questions, and I'm nice, so don't be afraid. And yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
that's great. So I think by the time producers get to pitching, they know the story inside out and including how
Yes,
it ends.
yes.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that's really all the time we have. So, look, thank you so much, Josephine. Oh, that was just a thank you that's popped in. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Josephine, for your time. Really appreciate it. Please, everyone, you can meet with Josephine at Screen Forever. Our Spark Connect market takes place on the 6th to 8th May. Project submissions are open until Monday, the 3rd of March. So if you go to the Screen Forever website and click on Spark Connect, you can apply there. So we'll have one more webinar in our series, which will be announced tomorrow, and that will take place next Wednesday evening at 7:30. Stay tuned for the announcement, and we'll pop this, make this webinar available after the time as well. So thank you again, Josephine, and thank you,
thank you
everyone.
very much for having me. Have a
All
good
right.
evening.
See you soon. Bye.